Hello, and welcome to day 7 of the 12 Days of Christmas Alexander Technique Explorations. I'm Amy Mushall with Your Instrumental Body. And at Your Instrumental Body, we help people rediscover the joy of movement and expression by unlocking efficiency and vitality, not just in singing, but in everyday life. Through the Alexander Technique, we empower you to release unnecessary tension, cultivate a mindful awareness, and find balance in how you move, breathe, and create. Today, we're focusing on the spine's secret. It's an incredible combination of strength and flexibility and mobility. Your spine is the central support for your body. Yet we often overlook how we use it and how we take care of it. When you connect with its natural length and freedom, you unlock more ease and fluidity in how you move doing any activity. Let's discover the magic of your spine and see how it can help you move through your day with grace and with lightness. Now, yesterday, we were exploring the length of our spine. We were exploring how it moves in relation to a slump versus a pulling up. And none of those are bad places. They're all available in how your spine is designed to carry you. In fact, one of the things that we really played with was how our head and our pelvis are interacting with our spine. So if you haven't seen day 6, I invite you to go check that out after today's exploration. Today, I really want to play with how the spine is one whole, long entity. When we think of the spine, sometimes we think of it in parts. We might think of our neck and think of that as its own thing. But our neck goes directly into the back, into our spine that is called our thoracic spine. And the thoracic spine is what our ribs connect to. And oftentimes, while we might think of how our ribs move in relation to breathing and what we need to do with our ribs, we very rarely think about how our ribs interact with our spine and how they are connected to the spine and then fall from the spine. And then we have our lumbar spine. The lumbar spine is here in our abdomen, that part that generally we want to keep kind of tucked in and sucked in because we don't want to let all of our guts kind of hang out. And yet, that part of the spine actually falls forward. We talk about the curves of the spine in general, but very rarely do we really know how all of those curves play and interact with each other. And when we have one curve, it is going to emphasize the other curve, or they can impact each other by trying to straighten each other out, which is not how we're designed to be. Finally, that last curve is actually a part of our pelvis. It's our sacrum, and it's right here in between our big hip bones that come out to the sides. And so people oftentimes are talking about SI joint pain, and that is the area where our big iliac crests meet our sacrum, and they create joints. But that sacrum is still a part of your spine. And so it is interacting all the way up with your cervical spine. And that whole spinal structure is one continuous support structure. I have this little snake. And you can see how the snake curves and how when it curves in one part, widening here, it's compressing on the other side. And then it compresses over here while it's widening in the opposite direction. So the way that this beautiful spinal structure moves for the snake is the same way that our spinal structure works, from our head, like the head of our snake here, which leads the motion of the spine all the way down to your tail, which is at the very tip of your sacrum. And our spine in particular is designed to make these kinds of arches and these kinds of curves where we slump. This is basically a seated cat-cow. So if we allow our head to look up, leading our whole spine to follow, you'll notice that you'll have a bit of an arch in your back, and that just as we did yesterday, your pelvis is going to allow your tail to come up as your head looks up. So we create this beautiful curve, which is just like cow. And then when our head comes to look down at our sternum and our pelvis curves under, arching our back, we create a cat pose. And so you can place your hand just resting them right there and just let your head, let your eyes lead this movement, going into cow, coming back into cat, leading back up into cow, and finally coming back down into cat. Now, the other thing that our spine is designed to do is to have rotation. And so this next exploration that I'd like to invite you to join me in, we'll start with leading with our eyes. Why? Because our head leads, and in particular, our eyes tend to lead movement, so that wherever we are looking, the rest of us, the spine in particular, will follow the direction of our head and our eyes. Now, if you have been journeying with me through these 12 days of Christmas, you will remember, I believe it was on day 2, that we talked about head leads, body follows. And we're going to continue exploring that today. So we're going to take our eyes and we're going to let our eyes sweep, and notice how my head follows my eyes. And eventually, if I go to look behind myself, I come into this rotation. And the rotation is going all the way down to my legs and to my feet. And so if I bring you back just a little bit further, I'm going to just show you that. So my eyes, which you can't quite see, but my eyes are leading. And notice that then I have this beautiful stretch where my right shoulder is going away from my left knee. But it's all being driven by my eyes and my head looking over my shoulder. And you might feel a really lovely stretch. Now let's take that in the other direction so that I'm going to start looking to my left. My left shoulder will start to move away from my right knee, as my eyes and my head lead the movement. And then my eyes come back to lead me back to neutral. Let's explore that just a couple more times together. Let's go to the left one more time, or the second direction, since we've been to the other so many times. We're going to start with our eyes, and you can sweep them across the wall in your space to look behind you. And then letting your eyes lead to undo the rotation. And now let's go over to the right. Now I'd invite you to notice if your body wants to do the movement without your eyes leading. And I'd invite you to slow down the process to allow your eyes to be the initiator of movement. See if that feels different when you, for instance, lead with a shoulder instead of your eyes. Just go ahead and try that on. There's nothing wrong with this movement. It's very particular, noticing a different leading point. Now, I'd invite you to do that exact same movement, but this time, taking the time to let your eyes be in charge. What do you notice about the fluidity of the movement when you lead with a shoulder, for instance, versus leading with your eyes? Let's do that again and see what you notice. One of the things that I notice when I really slow down to let my eyes lead is that there's a fluidity throughout my whole spine. And I notice my hips kind of unlocking so that the movement is a little bit more spacious and a bit more smooth and just really a bit more connected throughout the whole. I invite you to continue to play with all of the different ways that the spine can move and support you, noticing if you're allowing it to move with a fluidity and a release so that all of you are connected and in relationship with the whole of you. And I invite you to continue to be mindful of how you allow all of your curves to interact with each other throughout your day. Whatever your day brings to you, I hope that you find a little bit more ease and fluidity today. And if you like today's video, please do like it down below, share it with a friend, and come back tomorrow for day 8 of the 12 Days of Christmas Alexander Technique Explorations. Have a wonderful day. I'm Amy Mushall with Your Instrumental Body.